What is up, guys? My name is Matt, working for Cinematography Database, and today we're going to be doing our very first Cinematography Composition 201 series, where we're actually going to be looking at camera movement or dynamic composition. There's another way of talking about it. In this episode, we're going to be looking at just doing panning and tilting, and we're going to be looking at a really simple example, but I promise as we move forward, we're going to be incorporating sliding, jibs, techno cranes, dollies, everything you would see on a normal movie set. We're going to be breaking down one shot at a time with a camera movement or some sort of scene, and I'm going to be showing you different examples of how to cover it, and it's up to you to take away what you want from this, and maybe you like a particular shot and you're going to try to recreate it, or you just learned about a new concept that you'd never seen before. In either case, I hope you enjoy the 201 series. Let's get right into it. Okay, so here we are in Cinema 4D, and I've put together this little scene here, and of course this camera is possible because of Cine Designer, our plugin. And what we're going to be doing in this scene is we're going to be covering this man walking to his trash can in several different ways. I'm going to try to talk you through my thought process for choosing the different types of camera movement. And of course, we're going to be only using panning and tilting in this example for this episode. So let's let this scene play out. It is pretty simple. He is walking from the front door of his house to the trash can and then stopping. This actually kind of reminds me of, I think, the opening scene of Gone Girl. And it's, for some reason, there's something about that scene where he walks out and he's at his trash can and he realizes that the paparazzi's all left him and he's like alone. I think that's what's happening in that scene. And there's something about that scene that really sticks with me. So it kind of inspired this setup for me. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move this behind the scenes camera here, right behind the tripod. And it's pretty much like you are the camera operator. That's the idea of this point of view. And I'm going to be showing you how we use panning, which looks like this. I think we're all used to panning, and tilting that looks like this. I'm going to show you how to use pan and tilt to cover this scene in a couple different ways. So let's actually look through the camera. Pretty straightforward. Again, panning is this left to right rotation movement on the tripod head, and tilting is this up and down movement. I think we all know this. So we're looking through a virtual Canon C300 right now, and what focal length are we at? We're at a 21. So what I want to do is start with a 40mm. And I'm going to show you something about camera movement that I think is important, is that we call this the starting position or 1. And this actual move here has two parts, so we're going to call it 1 and 2. This is something that you would use on set. So this is the starting position, this is going to 1, and now he's walking to 2. And you can see in this composition, it's not working out very well. This is kind of an awkward frame in a way, and then we end up with his head crop. So how are we going to fix this? We're going to actually start with the 2. I actually think 2 is probably the most important part where he's going to land. What we're going to do is we're going to pick the framing for when he lands. So we're going to move over, we're going to pan over there, we're going to tilt up, we're going to pan right, tilt up a little bit more, and in Cine Designer here, we're going to set that keyframe, and we're going to go to his starting position or his 1, and I think that we should start this one kind of like, I don't know. I think like this. So a little bit more in the headroom, a little less in the foot room. Some sort of this composition like that. And let's watch this play back. We're going to go to the start, and we're going to hit play. So if you watch on the left, you can see that the camera is tilting up ever so slightly. It's a very small tilt. And on the right of the frame, we can see what the actual shot looks like. So he's going to start head to toe and slowly walk into frame, and the camera is just slightly tilting up to catch him. So that is an extremely basic example, but it's something that is pretty important to be able to do as a filmmaker, is to add some sort of movement to a scene like this to keep the person in frame. This is a shot that you would see in a lot of like romantic comedies, dramas. It's just somebody walking from point A to point B, and there's a lot of different ways of covering it, and you're gonna get different feels depending on how you do that. So let's do a slightly different camera move in this case, and what I'm gonna actually do now is I'm going to start with the camera way up in the air, like this. So it's kind of an establishing shot in a way. So we're going to set that as the first point, and then as he walks to number 2, I'm going to then tilt down right back into that same composition we had before. So let's take a look at what this looks like. On the left, the BTS, you see the camera tilting down, and on the right, you see the actual frame. So I'm pretty happy with that shot. I like that a lot. So we're at a 21, and let's look at our starting frame. So what are we going to do that's a little bit different here? So we looked at starting, keeping him in the frame the whole time, and then we have him also being introduced. We could do something like this, and this is a little bit odd. It's a little bit strange. I'm not sure how this is going to really turn out. Say we start over there, or maybe we start something like this. Like we're kind of looking we're looking off into the distance here. Maybe there's something in the movie that we want to show off. Maybe we're just showing off what the neighborhood looks like. So we'll start here, and we're on a wider lens, and by the time we get back to 128 here, that's the keyframe, we are going to pan over to reveal our main character and also these trash cans. So this is a weird shot, but I wanted to just show you a couple examples that were pretty different. And we're just using pan and tilt here, so I don't even know what this is going to look like, but we'll watch here. So the camera pans over, it's a little fast, probably do it a little bit slower, and we reveal our talent walking into the frame. So I'm not mad at that. I think I would just do it a little bit slower. So again, we're slowly panning and also tilting in. We reveal these trash cans, and we reveal the house, and we reveal our main character walking up to the trash cans. So those are pretty cool examples. Really simple. I know this 201 series, we're going to start with some really basic stuff, so panning and tilting, but we'll be moving into covering more complex scenes and then throwing in sliders, dollies, and jibs, and I'll be showing you different ways of using those tools to cover simple shots and eventually more complex shots as well. So let's look at one more camera placement and example before we end this episode. So that was a couple shots, all possible with panning and tilting from this one camera position. And because we're not dollying, we're not craning, we're not moving the camera at all, what I'm gonna do now is create another camera position and do some of the same that we were doing before. So now we've moved our camera over here, right? So we're gonna be ending in a profile you can see here, and I'm gonna show you a couple different moves that I've thought of from here that should be fun and show some good examples of how to use pan and tilt for covering a simple scene like this. Okay, so our talent has gone back to his first position, and let's pan our camera over. Oh, I'm looking through the wrong camera. There we go. Let's pan our camera over, and we're gonna start here, right? So we're gonna start in this full shot, and because he's actually moving in this case, we are going to keep him on the right third of frame and give him, we're gonna give him space, negative space, in the direction that he's looking. And this is a very standard way of composing a scene like this with motion. And as he goes to his second position, let me just line that up. As he goes to his second position, we are going to pan over with him and land something like this. So we land in a profile. So a different shot from before. And then let's look how this looks. I think in the middle, I kind of lose him about here. So I'm gonna do a correction. This is something that you have to do with 3D animation. It's not something you have to do in real life, but there you have it. So let's look through this actual shot. Again, on the left, I'm moving a little bit closer to the camera for a better behind the scenes view, and we'll see how much is tilting. And then of course on the right, we're looking through the actual camera. So action. The talent walks over, it's a little bit fast, and the camera simply just pans to keep him in frame. We'll look at it one more time. We're keeping him in a full shot, and he ends up in a medium shot or a 3/4 shot by the end. So I'm pretty happy with this composition and this dynamic camera move. We're keeping the talent on the right side of frame the whole time. That's something that's nice about camera movement, is to try to keep what's important in the same place so that the viewer doesn't have to move their eye, and you can see that we've done that. And we've also kept him in the relatively same part of the frame and the same amount of negative space. So it's a little off because of the camera animation, but you get it. And we get a similar idea here, but it's, I think because of the lighting, it ends up being a little bit darker, and we end up being a little bit closer to him at the end. So we've effectively started in a wide shot, and him walking, we've ended up in a profile in a medium shot. So pretty cool. I'll do one more variation of this, and let's change the focal length. Okay, so we've taken this same camera position and we've changed it to a 21 mil. So we're gonna do a wider version of this shot. And to be kind of creative or whatever, let's do something, I don't know. Let's do something like this, where we're starting looking up at the sky, at the house. It's kind of like a shot of the house. It's not my favorite shot in the world, but you know, some sort of establishing shot. It's kind of like a crane shot in a way. We're starting high on the house, and we're going to reveal the house and then follow the main character across the screen. So we're going to go to 2 here, and we're going to tilt down, and we're also going to pan left like this. So this composition is a little bit funky, but I still think it could fly. It's a little bit off. It's a less standard composition, so you know, maybe we're trying to say something here. Maybe it's a little bit more Mr. Robot or whatnot with the composition. But let's check out how this looks midway through the shot. Yeah, I bet this is okay. So let's watch the actual shot here. So again, we're starting tilted up and panned over, and then we're gonna pan left and tilt down with a 21 mil and see how this all looks. It's interesting. It's not my favorite, but it is an example of using, again, just pan and tilt, no No gimbals, no dollies, no cranes, just panning and tilting and picking your placement for a simple scene like this. So that wraps it up for our very first 201 dynamic composition series. Hope you enjoyed it. I know it's really basic. I know it's just a guy walking out of his house. We're just panning and tilting, but these are the fundamental core building blocks of filmmaking. A lot of the shots in movies are just pan and tilts, and using them correctly is very important to understand. I look at a lot of short films, and I'm seeing people trying to incorporate dolly moves and crane shots and steadicam and gimbal, but then when I watch their panning and tilting and just straight up normal composition, it's a little bit lacking. And what's even better about that is that this is really affordable. You can do this same principle and do it handheld, on a cheap tripod. It doesn't matter. What's important is that you understand how to use it. So I hope you liked this episode. Give it a like if you did. Subscribe to the channel. We've got a lot more of these coming. And in the comments below, just let me know how you like this format. Adding movement and animation, I'm not rendering. I'm actually in Cinema 4D using Cine Designer. It's just much faster. To render this out and actually light it would take me at least a day or two to render these all out. It would take a long time. So we're gonna do it all in Cine Designer, but let me know how you like this format. In the next episode, I think we're gonna add in a dolly, and then the next episode after that, we'll add a crane or jib. And those are the main ways of covering scenes. I guess after that, we could add Steadicam and gimbals, but we're gonna keep looking at this same scene to keep things kind of like grounded, and I'm gonna just show you a bunch of different ways of covering them to just help illustrate and show and give terminology to dynamic composition or camera movement. You guys get out there and plan better, shoot better.